I never thought I'd be the guy sharing this kind of story, but here I am. I want to get it off my chest and maybe, just maybe, someone out there can tell me what I should do. So here goes. My wife and I have been married for 5 years. We met in college and honestly I thought we were solid. No major red flags, no crazy drama, just a quiet life built on shared dreams and lazy weekends. We had our routines and I always thought she was the one. That was until last week. It was our anniversary trip. We decided to do a little getaway, just the two of us. We drove out to a cozy cabin by the lake, packed some wine, and planned to disconnect from everything. The first day was perfect. We sat by the fire, drank wine, talked about the future. I felt like I was finally going to breathe a little easier. Nothing seemed off. But then, on the second night, everything changed. We were sitting outside, staring at the stars. I remember the way the cool night air made my skin crawl just a little, and her laughter sounded more forced than usual. I was wrapped in a blanket, getting ready to head inside. She was sitting there, her face illuminated by the flickering firelight, and suddenly she started crying. Not just a quiet sniffle, but full-on tears, her shoulders trembling. I was stunned. "Hey, what's wrong?" I asked, reaching out to touch her arm. She wiped her eyes quickly. "Nothing, just tired, that's all." But something in her voice was off. It sounded like she was holding back something huge. I pressed a little harder. "Come on, you can tell me. We're supposed to be celebrating. Why are you crying? Did I do something?" She took a shaky breath. "It's nothing, I messed up." That's when she blurted it out. She told me she cheated on me just once during our trip. She said it was a mistake, a moment of weakness. Her words hit me like a sledgehammer. My stomach dropped, and for a second I couldn't breathe. The cool night suddenly felt too hot, like I was suffocating inside my own skin. She kept crying, begging me to understand, saying she was sorry. She swore she loved me, that it didn't mean anything, but her tears didn't erase what she'd done. How do you forgive that? How do you even start to? I sat there, staring at her, feeling a mix of shock, rage, and disbelief. I looked down at my hands, which suddenly felt clammy, the nerves raw. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake her and demand the truth. Instead, I just sat there, silent. I could hear the distant loons calling over the lake, but it all felt distant, like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. I remember my fingers curling into fists. My head was pounding. I could feel my jaw tightening as my mind raced. How many times had I missed something? Was she lying before? Because from where I was sitting now, this wasn't a one-time mistake. It felt like the final straw, a crack in the foundation I thought was unbreakable. When I finally managed to speak, my voice was cold and flat. "You're telling me this now, during our anniversary trip, after everything we've been through?" She looked at me, her face streaked with tears, eyes pleading. "Please don't hate me. I swear I love you. It was a stupid mistake. And I'm so sorry, I never wanted to hurt you." I clenched my fists so tight the nails dug into my palms. "Sorry doesn't cut it. Sorry doesn't fix what you've done. You're telling me everything I believed was a lie." Her sobs grew louder and I could feel my chest tighten. I wanted to run, to scream, to do something, anything, to make sense of the chaos inside me. But I just sat there, frozen, staring into the darkness, feeling everything I trusted shattered into pieces. That's when the real questions started creeping in. Were there signs I ignored? Did I miss the clues? How long had she been hiding this? And most importantly, what the hell am I supposed to do next? I think I knew then that everything was about to change. I just didn't know how much. The next morning, I woke up with that heavy, foggy feeling you get after a blow to the chest. My mind kept circling around her words, her tears, that sick feeling that I'd been played for a fool. I lay there staring at the ceiling, pretending to be asleep while my stomach twisted. The air smelled of burnt coffee and pine, but nothing seemed to matter. All I could think about was her face, her tears, the way she begged me not to hate her. I finally got up, telling myself I needed to get some space. I didn't want to scream at her, not yet. Instead, I went outside, pacing by the lake. The water looked still, but inside I felt like a storm was brewing. I needed to get clarity, but all I could focus on was the nagging suspicion that this wasn't just a one-time mistake. It was a symptom of something bigger. She came outside after a while, her face red and puffy. She looked like she wanted to say something, but her voice was shaky. "Can we talk?" I looked at her, my jaw clenched so tight I thought I'd crack a tooth. "What is there to say? You cheated on me and now you're crying like I'm supposed to forgive you." She hesitated. "I swear it was a mistake. I didn't mean for it to happen. I was drunk, stressed, I don't know. I love you, I do. Please don't throw everything away over one bad decision." I shook my head slowly, feeling the rage boil up. "That's bullshit. You tell me you love me, but then you go sleep with my best friend." Her eyes widened. "It was a dumb mistake. He's just someone I was feeling lonely with. It's not like I planned it." I felt the pulse pounding behind my eyes. "Lonely? You're feeling lonely on our trip. That's your excuse for betraying everything we built. Did you even think about me, about us?" She bit her lip, tears welling up again. "It wasn't supposed to happen. We're supposed to be celebrating. I didn't want it to ruin everything, but I couldn't stop it. I swear I'm so sorry." Sorry doesn't cut it. Sorry doesn't erase the fact that my trust is shattered into a million pieces. I could feel my palms sweat, the muscles in my jaw tightening so much I had to breathe through the pain. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "You want me to forgive you, fine, but you better understand you've crossed a line. I don't know if I can come back from this. Honestly, I don't even want to try right now." She reached out, but hesitated. "Please don't do this. Give me a chance to fix it. I'll do anything." I took a step back, feeling the cold wind on my face, trying to keep my voice steady. "Anything? Yeah, I doubt that. If you truly loved me, you wouldn't have needed to cheat in the first place. That's not a mistake, that's a betrayal, and I need to think about what's next." I saw her collapses into a sitting position, her hands trembling as she wiped away tears. I knew I had to leave her there, alone with her guilt. I couldn't handle her crying anymore. Not now. Not after everything I just learned. As I turned away, I caught a glimpse of the necklace I'd given her on our anniversary, a gift I'd always thought symbolized our bond. Now, it just felt like a piece of trash. I clenched my fists and vowed I'd get answers. I'd find out if this was a one-time slip-up or if there was something more sinister hiding underneath. I spent the rest of that morning doing what I hate, searching through her things. I needed proof. I needed to see if this was just a one-night stand or part of something bigger. I knew she hadn't left the cabin yet. I could still find something, anything that revealed the truth. My eyes caught her phone on the nightstand. I hesitated, then grabbed it. I needed to see if her story held up. Her messages, her calls, anything that could tell me more. I knew snooping was a betrayal in itself, but at this point, trust was gone. I needed facts, not feelings. What I found made my stomach turn. The texts weren't just innocent words. There were messages that hinted at more plans, secret meetings, promises that went beyond a drunken mistake. I scrolled through, feeling my hands shake, each line like a punch to the gut. One message from her read, "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was just the start, I think." I read it over and over. That wasn't the words of someone who made a mistake. That was someone who planned this, who knew what she was doing. I closed her phone, feeling numb and angry all at once. This wasn't a slip-up. It was something calculated, and I'd been blind to it for months. I looked out at the lake. Again, my mind racing. I couldn't go back to her now, not with this evidence, not with the betrayal so plain in front of me. It was time to do something I'd never imagined doing, something that would change everything. I knew I had to get revenge, but I wasn't going to do anything impulsive. I needed a plan, something cold and calculated. I'd hurt her the way she hurt me, quietly, painfully. It was the only way I'd find closure. The next step was planning, but I knew one thing for sure. I was done pretending everything was fine. I was done playing nice. And I was about to make sure she understood exactly what she lost. The plan started taking shape in my head as I drove back home later that day. I kept replaying her messages, her tears, and that sick feeling in my stomach. I needed to hit her where it hurt, not physically, but emotionally. She'd betrayed me, and I wanted her to feel the weight of that betrayal, the same way I did. First, I needed proof she couldn't deny. I went through her emails, her social media, her bank statements. She'd been careful, but not careful enough. I found a couple of texts from her friend, the guy she cheated with, full of flirtatious nonsense. She'd even booked a hotel under a fake name for their secret meetings. I saved everything, screenshotting and printing out what I could. While I was at it, I also checked her phone bill. Sure enough, there were late-night calls to the guy. No doubt she was hiding more than just the affair. She'd been sneaking around for months, and I had the evidence now. This wasn't some impulsive mistake. This was premeditated. Once I had all of that, I stepped back and thought about what I wanted from her. I wasn't going to confront her again until I was ready. I needed her to see I had evidence, that I knew everything. I wanted her to panic, to realize she'd played a fool herself. So I waited a few days, watching her, observing her reactions. She was still acting like nothing was wrong, but I saw the cracks, the paranoia, the way she checked her phone nervously, the way she'd jump at the slightest noise. It was almost too easy. I knew she was hiding something else, and I was about to make her confess. Meanwhile, I started planning my move. I knew I had one shot at this, so I needed to be precise. I decided I would tell her I found her phone bill, that I knew about the calls, the messages. I'd let her squirm, then hit her with the evidence I'd collected. I'd give her no room to deny it. The night I planned to do it, I brought her into the living room. It was quiet, tense. The air smelled like burnt popcorn from earlier, but I didn't care. I was beyond caring. I looked right at her, my voice low and cold. "We need to talk." She looked nervous, maybe sensing what was coming. "What's wrong?" I pulled out my phone, showing her the screenshots I'd taken. "I found this. Tell me what it means." She froze, her eyes darting from the screen to me, her face paling. I don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, come on," I said. "This is your number, your message. You've been lying to me for months. You've been sneaking around, planning something behind my back. Tell me, who is he?" Her lips trembled. "It's not what you think. I swear I was just feeling lonely." "Lonely? That's your excuse for sleeping with my best friend." I cut her off, feeling my fists clench. "You think I'm that stupid?" She looked like she wanted to run, but she couldn't. She just sat there, trembling. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I didn't want you to find out like this." I leaned in closer, my voice sharp. "You didn't want me to find out? What, so you could keep lying? I want to know the truth. This the only time, or are there more secrets I don't know about?" Her voice broke. "It was just once, I swear. I made a mistake. I didn't want you to get hurt." I felt a cold rage boil up inside me. "A mistake, that's what you call it. A mistake when you're sneaking off for secret rendezvous. You think I'm going to just forgive and forget?" She looked away, tears streaming down her face. "Please, I love you. I don't want to lose you over this." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my calm. But inside, I was boiling. I'd been betrayed, lied to, and now I was supposed to just accept it. Hell no. I wanted her to understand the gravity of what she'd done. "I've got one question for you," I said, voice cold as steel. "Are you going to keep lying, or are you finally going to tell me the full truth?" She looked at me with desperation. I don't know." That was when I decided I'd had enough. I told her I needed time to think, that I wouldn't be able to look at her the same way anymore. I grabbed my keys and left her sitting there, broken and crying. I didn't want to see her face again until I was ready. As I drove away, I knew I had to do something else. Something that would make her realize she'd lost everything. I was going to hit her where it would hurt most: her pride, her trust, her sense of security. And I was going to do it in a way she'd never see coming. My plan was simple, cold, and ruthless. I'd let her feel the pain of betrayal in the worst way possible. But before that, I had one more step, one last thing I needed to do to solidify my revenge plan. I was going to give her a taste of her own medicine, and when she realized what I was capable of, I wanted her to understand she'd never be able to trust anyone again, not even herself. Over the next few days, I kept my silence, but my mind was racing. I wasn't just going to confront her again. No, I was planning something much colder, something calculated. I needed her to feel the full weight of betrayal, to understand that she'd pushed me into a corner I wasn't going to back out of. I spent hours researching ways to get into her email, her social media, even her cloud accounts. I was methodical, no reckless moves. I wanted everything to be airtight. I knew she'd change her passwords, make things harder, but I was undeterred. I had experience hacking my way into systems before, and I was confident I could find what I needed. Finally, I cracked her email account late one night. Her inbox was full of messages with her friend. I saw the photos they'd exchanged, intimate, suggestive, enough to make my stomach knot. I also saw plans for future meetings, more lies, more betrayals. It was a treasure trove of proof, undeniable evidence that this wasn't just a one-time slip-up but a sustained affair. With all this in hand, I sat back, took a deep breath, and plotted my next move. I wasn't going to just accuse her. I wanted her to see everything. I wanted her to understand she'd been caught, revealed, exposed. That meant I'd send her the proof, but I'd do it in a way that gave her no escape. I created an anonymous email attaching all the screenshots, the photos, and the chat logs. I even included a message. You thought you could hide this forever. Now everyone knows. I knew it was petty, maybe even cruel, but at that moment I didn't care. I wanted her to feel vulnerable, helpless, exposed. The next morning I watched her from a distance. She was in the kitchen making coffee when her phone buzzed. I saw her glance at it, then freeze. Her face went pale as she read the message I sent her, an anonymous tip with all her secrets laid bare. Her hands trembling, she looked around, unsure of where it came from. I stayed behind the wall watching her struggle with her realization. She knew she'd been caught, but she didn't know who did it. I saw her try to delete the message, but of course I'd already taken screenshots. I knew she'd be panicked, paranoid, desperate to cover her tracks. That was exactly what I wanted. Later that day, I confronted her directly. I told her I knew everything, the texts, the photos, the emails. Her face twisted with guilt, but I could see the flicker of fear behind her eyes. I wanted her to feel small, cornered, like she'd lost control of everything. You thought you could hide this forever, I said, voice cold and steady. You thought I'd never find out, but I did. And now you're going to tell me the truth, all of it, no more lies. She looked down, tears streaming down her cheeks. It's not what you think. I was weak, I was stupid, but I love you. I shook my head slowly. Love. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. You wouldn't have betrayed me with my best friend. I swear it was just. Once, she whispered. It was a moment of weakness. Please, just forgive me. But I knew better now. I'd seen enough. I stepped closer, feeling my jaw clenched, my fists trembling with rage. You want forgiveness. You want me to forget everything. That's not how this works anymore. You've broken my trust, and I don't think I can ever trust you again. Not after all this. She looked up at me, her face a mask of regret mixed with hope. Can't we just start over? I'll do anything, please. I'll fix this. I felt my stomach turn, the anger bubbling over. No, you won't. You've crossed a line I can't come back from. I'm done pretending. I want you gone. That was when I handed her a stack of her own phone, printed out the evidence. Here, take a good look at what you've done. This is what I found, and it's only the beginning. Her hands shook as she looked at the pages, her face crumbling. She knew she'd been caught in a trap of her own making. I saw the realization in her eyes that her world was never going to be the same again. I told her she could pack her bags, get out, and not come back. I didn't want her near me anymore, not after this betrayal. She begged, pleaded, but I was done. I handed her the keys to her apartment and told her to leave. When she finally walked out, the emptiness hit me hard. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. But I also felt a strange sense of relief, like I'd taken control back from her lies. It was over. And as I watched her walk away, I knew this was the last step. The final act of my revenge. She'd betrayed me in the worst way possible, and I'd made sure she paid. In that moment, I realized something. Sometimes the only way to truly heal is to cut everything off, to walk away and rebuild from scratch. That's what I'm doing now. And honestly, it's the only way I'll ever be able to trust again. The days that followed felt like a blur. The house was eerily silent without her, the kind of quiet that gnaws at your nerves. I couldn't sit still, constantly replaying everything. The betrayal, the lies, the evidence I'd collected. I felt hollow, yet somehow lighter, like I'd finally wrested control back from her manipulations. I threw myself into cleaning out her side of the house, packing up her clothes, her keepsakes. Each item I touched was a reminder of what was lost, but also a symbol of what I was finally letting go. I made her pack her things herself, watched her stumble through her tears, knowing she was feeling her own world collapse around her. That was the point. I didn't want to just dump her stuff outside. That would be too easy. I wanted her to see that her actions had consequences. She'd left her mark, and now she'd have to face the fallout. I arranged for her to pick up her things at a designated time, making her come face to face with what she'd thrown away. And when she arrived, she looked broken, defeated, like a shell of the woman I once knew. Here, I said, handing her a box. Take your stuff. I don't want you around anymore. She looked at me with pleading eyes, voice trembling. Please. I know I messed up, but can't we just talk? No, I said coldly. There's Nothing to talk about. You made your choice. You betrayed me. I'm done with excuses. She hesitated, tears streaming. I really do love you, and I loved you too, I interrupted sharply. But love doesn't mean ignoring the truth. You lied, you cheated, and I can't look at you the same way anymore. This is over. I turned my back, watching her slowly gather her things. Every movement seemed to drain her more. I felt a strange mixture of satisfaction and emptiness. I'd finally done what I needed to do, put an end to the facade, to the lies. Once she left, I was alone with the silence, but I realized I wasn't truly alone. The house now bore the ghost of what we had, but I knew I had to start rebuilding. I'd lost my trust in her, yes, but I hadn't lost my sense of self. I was still here, still standing. That night I sat in the living room, staring out the window at the dark. The moon cast a faint glow over the empty yard, shadowy trees swaying gently in the breeze. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of what had happened finally settle into my bones. It was over. I had closed that chapter, no more lies, no more secrets. But the question lingered, what now? How do I move forward after all this? I know I need time to process, to heal. Trust is shattered and it won't be easy to rebuild. But I also know I can't keep living in this pain forever, so I made a decision. I was going to focus on myself for a while. I'd reconnect with old friends, pick up hobbies I'd neglected, and most importantly, give myself permission to feel whatever I needed to feel without judgment. And I'd cut out anything that reminded me of her. The house, the memories, the lies. I was going to start fresh. I don't know if I'll ever forgive her, and honestly, I don't think I want to, but I do know I'll come out of this stronger. There's a strange clarity in betrayal. It forces you to confront what really matters. Your boundaries, your worth, your ability to survive even the darkest nights. I don't have all the answers yet, but I do have one certainty. I will rebuild my life on my own terms. I guess the real lesson here, if there is one, is don't ever ignore the signs. Trust your gut and don't wait to confront your truth. Sometimes you have to burn everything down to start over, and that's okay. It's the only way to truly heal. Now looking back, I realize how much this whole thing changed me, not just the betrayal, but how I handled it. I'd always been the kind of guy who believed in honesty, loyalty, the kind of guy who thought he knew someone well enough to trust them with his life. Turns out I'd been wrong. That trust was fragile, too easy to break, and it took one betrayal to shatter the illusion. In the aftermath, I found a strange, bitter clarity. I understood that forgiveness isn't always the goal. Sometimes the best thing you can do is cut ties, walk away, and rebuild from nothing. That's what I did. I handed her the keys, packed her belongings, and made her leave. When she finally stepped out the door, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. But deep down, I knew I was finally free. I remember the moment vividly. She handed me a small box, the last of her things, and looked at me with those haunted eyes, begging silently for forgiveness I couldn't give. I just nodded, took the keys, and told her to go. Watching her walk down the driveway, I didn't feel anger anymore, just a quiet resolve. I sat on the porch for a long time afterward, feeling the cool night air on my skin. The stars overhead seemed brighter than ever, and for the first time in days I let myself breathe. I thought about everything, her lies, her betrayal, the pain, but also about how I had faced it head-on and come out the other side. The truth is, I don't regret what I did. Sure, it hurt like hell. Sure, I wish I hadn't had to go through this. But I also know that sometimes you have to tear everything apart to rebuild better. That's what I'm doing now. I'm rebuilding my sense of self, my trust in my own judgment, and my hope for the future. I won't lie, there are days when I feel the sting of betrayal sharply, but I also feel a new sense of strength. I've learned to trust my instincts more, to listen to that little voice inside that says something's wrong. I've learned that sometimes the best revenge is simply walking away, refusing to let someone else's actions define you. Most importantly, I've learned that I'm enough. Alone, I am enough. I don't need her or anyone else's validation to feel whole. I've rediscovered my own resilience, my ability to stand tall in the face of chaos. That realization is worth more than any apology, any explanation. So, to anyone out there going through something similar, trust your gut. Don't wait for the signs to pile up, confront them early. And if you find yourself betrayed, remember, You have the power to walk away, to start over, to heal in your own time. It's painful, yes, but it's also necessary. And as I finally close this chapter, I want to say this. I am moving forward, not because I've forgotten, but because I've chosen to be stronger. Because life goes on, and so do I.